Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. It's just me and Brent on there.
Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule of the Galaxy friends. We're celebrating Mon Mothma's wedding to start off the Rule of the Galaxy podcast, chapter 325. We have the whole crew here tonight, so it's going to be a lot of fun. As always, you can email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. Follow us on all social media platforms and pick us up on your podcast platform of choice. We are live on YouTube right now. Hopefully, our friends Hyperspace Heroes are now safely tucked away in Nashville or Murfreesboro, wherever it is, for the ICCC. Hope you guys are listening. But outside of that, we got lots to talk about because this is the end. My only friend, the end. For anybody who's Doors fans, this is the end of Andor. And we're going to whip it around the horn. And we're going to start with Alfie. How are
Zero
you, brother?
reaction out of Brent for Joe singing. What's going on here?
It was pretty good.
Technical difficulties at the moment, so
Okay.
I might be jumping out actually, guys, because there's technical difficulties on my end. So just keep going.
You got it. Let us know. Alfie, on to you.
Doing good, man. Busy week, and the heat came back at work, so that's always pleasant. It was in the 90s today with 99% humidity at work, so that's just an awesome all-around day.
It's a good weight loss program, though, isn't it?
You would think it would be, but somehow it's I'm just slacking at that.
Man, I was waiting for you to say, somehow the obesity has returned.
Ooh, that would have been a good one.
Okay,
That
well,
would've been a
cool.
good one.
Thank you. Alfie, you had a cryptic message to us before we go on to DDoc and Brent. I need to know more about this message that you sent our way.
Okay, so a few days ago, I went to the local Walmart, which hasn't had any new Black Series figures in quite a long time. And I just happened to find, not with the Black Series figures, somewhere else, one of the Revenge of the Sith Count Dooku figures.
Okay.
And I haven't hawed about it, so I hid it. I hate to admit it, but I did.
Oh, no.
So I went back there tonight, and I found two more in a different spot. So that led me to walk around a little bit, and tucked away in a different part of the store was the Revenge of the Sith big promo. Cardboard with all the figures, and man, there were so many that I wanted to buy. And like I said in our message, choices are tough. They really are. And then you start to second guess them, because I really wanted the Count Dooku because he's kind of our mascot.
Guy. Yeah,
he's our guy. But I couldn't say no to Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, man.
DDoc is so jealous.
It was a tough decision. Yeah, I found they had Anakin and Rex and Cody.
Really?
And yes. Which, was kind of all fitting that Revenge of the Sith. I tell you what, that Moff Gideon in the Beskar armor in the Praetorian Guard, those are some good looking figures. They didn't quite have, they didn't fit in the moment, with the release, but still, they were kind of tough to say no to too.
What were they going for price wise?
I was really surprised. $24.95.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Huh. So the Rex and the Cody, were they also 6-inch Black Series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Rex is from Ahsoka, and then Cody comes on the Revenge of the Sith card.
DDoc, I see your test. Okay. Well, we'll have to check that out. And which Walmart was that one?
135.
Okay, we're going to have to check that out.
Check.
Well, decisions are difficult. I have to go see if there's any. You can tell me offline where you hid anything, and I'll go check that out.
I didn't hide anything, and I put the Count Dooku back where it should go.
Okay.
I actually put all three back where they should go.
What's the Kenobi line? You've become the one. You become the one thing we.
The very thing you swore to destroy.
Yes, exactly.
We all do that at some point in time, though. What is it? You live long enough to
see yourself become the enemy or something. Yeah.
That's a Batman line, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
The
think
villain.
it's
Mhm.
yeah. Harvey Dent.
There you go. There you go. Well, that lovely voice you just heard right there is DDoc, who brought us in with the dance music to start. DDoc, how's everything going with you?
Good. I actually liked the vibes of the music coming in. I think we might just have to play that EV Mux random sound. Video game music is what it's called. It's just a commercial music thing, so we don't have to worry about YouTube hurting us on that. So we'll be okay.
Definite banger.
I agree.
Yeah.
If we could get it in like some low background, I could go the whole time. I'd be dancing the whole show.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
just like we're having a conversation on the dance floor, you know?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing good though. Really excited to talk about this finale of Andor. Right before the show, I went to grab something out of my garage, and there was water in my garage because it's kind of like split level my house, and my last house got water in the garage, and I love that this house has stayed dry through every rainstorm. So I'm definitely gonna have nightmares tonight because I'm probably gonna be losing my mind tomorrow trying to find out how water got into my garage from the wall. But luckily, I know how to fix these things, so I just don't feel like doing it. I wish I didn't have to, but I'm more excited to talk about Andor. So whatever.
Okay. Well, I will wish you the best and hope that things go well with the water in your garage. We all saw, and DDoc, you brought it to my attention. Congrats to our good friend T Bob for the new gig with Barstool. That's awesome. I was glad to see that for him, and he's going to be moving to Chicago, which is not too far from Alfie and Brent and myself. So maybe there'll be some more chances for meetups with T Bob, with him being that close instead of down in Baton Rouge. Although I am a little bummed because I never got a chance to go to an LSU game with T Bob. So, a little depression on that, but good for him. Kudos to him and the T Bob family.
Absolutely. Congrats, T Bob.
Yeah. Brent, technical difficulties still going on? I believe
Yes.
they still.
Yeah, your connection is rough tonight, Brent.
Look at that, Jackson. That's fantastic.
Brent, I would try restarting your stream because your connection usually doesn't look the way it does tonight. You're only moving every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
We're
I'll probably
keep going.
dip out here in a second because it's terrible. There's 9 different people on devices tonight that aren't normally on. So just keep rocking.
We'll keep rocking. So this is chapter 325 of Rule of the Galaxy. We're excited. 325. That's a pretty good number right there. We'll see where we get to. How old will we have to? Let's see. It took us 5+ years to get 325 episodes. So in another 5 years, we'll be at 750 or no, 650. Yeah, my math. Such good math. But we have. Is there anything outside of Andor and Alfie finding some good toys and things like that? Anything outside of Andor, Star Wars related, that we need to hit on? Is there anything else in the news? Anything going on? I did get the digital copy of the Acolyte book. I've got to read it. It's the Jecki and Yord book, so I'm going to go check that out. And I have one coming up from the High Republic that they sent me, so I'm going to go check those out. It's going to be tough, but I'll zoom through them as fast as I can. But you know what? When you get them in the digital format and you can just buzz through them in your headphones, not too bad. So I'll give you guys updates on those and see how they sound. But anything on you guys with Star Wars related? Go ahead, DDoc.
Yeah, Dave, I know I was texting you guys about it, but I might as well share it on the podcast that this past Friday, or was it Saturday? Either one, David wanted to watch a Star Wars movie, and I was kind of pushing for Rogue One. But when I got to the Disney Plus, he was like, hold on, let me switch around, which he tried to watch Last Jedi, and I was just like, that's the one I just don't, that's the only Star Wars movie I don't want to watch right now. But yeah, I was scrolling through and he was like Empire Strikes Back, which he's seen in New Hope, but if I knew how locked into Empire he was going to be, I would have put a New Hope on, because to me it felt like his first time experiencing the original trilogy, and like, man, it was a cool experience watching it with them, just because, we're kind of still semi hot off the coattails of Revenge of the Sith, to where I feel like he's got a nice Star Wars vibe. Plus the Fortnite, he plays Fortnite with his buddies, and it's very Star Wars themed right now. So yeah, he's kind of getting into the lore of it, where like I texted you guys when I said, he goes, how did Darth Vader choke him through a screen? I'm like, he's the most powerful Force user in the galaxy right now. He's like, no, he's not. He's like, Yoda and Palpatine are stronger than him. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, okay, he's thinking about, the lore. So, that was interesting. And I had a nice little fun experience, because, when you're watching with them and they're that into it, it feels like the first time again for you watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny seeing him get pissed off at Lando, and then me kind of explaining to him, well, what decisions did Lando really have? He's trying to help him out. His hands are tied, So it was fun to watch Empire with him. So, well, I don't know. I think I'm gonna start to try to knock some stuff out in order with him, the way he was enjoying it, and I think we'll have another member of the crew here. So,
well, he's 8, and 8's a great time. I mean, I saw New Hope at 6, Empire at 9, and Jedi at 12. So yeah, I mean it's a good right in the middle, kind of right down the pipe fastball age group for him to do that. So that's awesome, and I think you'll get some good results and feedback from him. I tell you what, one thing that got me was, Alfie, was it you or DDoc? I can't remember which one of you sent the one of the little girl who started crying because she was so sad.
Yeah.
That got me. And then I sent it to Joey, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "It's breaking my heart seeing that." And Frankie, his son, is a very emotional kid, so I can only imagine he really likes Star Wars, and he likes the from afar, and he likes the action and everything. But when he gets into that age where he can really perceive what's going on with all that, I think he'll be the one getting all teary eyed like that little girl. That was pulling on your heartstrings a little bit right there. So yeah, it was good.
keep passing it down.
Yeah, that's right. Keep passing it down. I can't think of anything else. I really, I mean, I was geeked to watch these last few episodes. They were great. So we can hop into those. Looking back at it, it's been an interesting ride for Andor. Like I said, the first season for me was a slow burn, but by the time it got to the end, and they did the stuff at the end for Marva and all that, that was it just got better and better every episode. This has had its ups and downs, but I will say it finished strong, especially in 8 and 9 of last week, and then these 3 episodes this week. So it's been really good TV. I've been really interested in it, and it really got me going by the time it ended. But one thing I did want to throw out is I was doing some rewatching of it, and I never noticed this, but in the first 3 episodes, when Bix and Brasso and Willman were in, was that Mina Rao or something like that? And they were on that field, or that planet field. They had a picture of Marva next to the system where they were talking to Cassian. I had never noticed that until I did a rewatch. Yeah, just a big picture of Marva right there. So I thought that was really cool. A little touch point, right? Just a reminder, and the reason they're doing things. But anything else? Anything you guys want to think about looking back at the first 9 episodes before we started in 10, 11, or 12?
Well, as I joked before, young. We know young now because it was mentioned many times. So going back, hearing about it after I watched the last arc, I was just like, okay. So
yeah,
there's that.
Well, let's look at it. We have episode 10, Make It Stop. Episode 11, Who Else Knows? And episode 12, Jeddah, Kyber, Urso. What do you call them, Alfie? Remember berries?
Member berries.
Member berries. There you go. Yeah, a lot of bringing that stuff back, but I can say right from the get go, this starts off and you're seeing Lonnie and you're feeling like, all right, let's see how we tie up Lonnie real quick. And it kind of just reminded me of a good old mobster movie, right? The one who's
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna let out some information that never usually ends up good. And gosh, it just I liked Lonnie as a character. What he did, being right in the hub of the ISB and being able to hand that off to Luthen, was fantastic over the time frame that he did it. And to hear that he snuck into uh, Dedra's system, basically got her password and did that, man, that's some ballsy, gutsy stuff right there. But what were you guys' thoughts about seeing Lonnie take that hit before we get into anything else?
And he did it on his own. That wasn't what Luthen wanted him to do. He took the initiative there. I really liked it because that followed the theme that I like of this season, that the rebels are just as morally flexible as not so much as the Empire, but they're not squeaky clean at all. Luthen told him right to his face, he was protected and he would help him. Just give me the information. And then I don't know if he shot him or just broke his neck or what, but yeah, he killed him.
It looked like there was a bullet, like it looked like there was kind of a hole right around his heart area.
Right.
It wasn't very visible, but it did look like he got gun smoked.
Yeah, either way, yeah, he took him out. No hesitation.
And Luthen is about as cutthroat as you can get. And you're right, Alfie. He said in his speech, he's become, exactly what he's fighting against. He's become his enemy, just to battle them. And you're right. The moral flexibility is it holds no bounds right there. He did say he was going to get passage for his family. I don't know. I don't see that happening. I feel like she had to get taken out as well, or did she even know? I mean, this whole time, did Lonnie's wife and daughter know that this was going on?
And everyone who knows that there possibly could be a connection to Lonnie is dead. And they died really fast. So his family could be in the clear.
This is true. Throughout this time frame, everybody got taken out pretty much, didn't they?
And if you follow the conversations, especially Krennic was twisting Lonnie and putting what he did onto Dedra.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was basically flipping it on her completely.
Did you guys? Oh, sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead, DDoc.
Did you guys kind of notice Lonnie's face change a bit when he said Yavin? I don't know if you guys said that because I was trying to add the RTG logo into this, so I was getting a little distracted. But when he said, he was like, "You'll be safe on Yavin," I felt like Lonnie kind of was like, "Okay, that's where you're at," and I was like, maybe Lonnie was getting to the point where he's ready to be like, I'm going to protect my wife and kids over whatever is going on here. I can't do this anymore. So if I survive this, maybe he would have given up Yavin to them,
If you go back to where Cassian was on Yavin, or Yavin, whichever, Twi'lek, Yavin.
Yeah, Yavin.
But
Yavin. I switch it up. I probably say it different 50% of the time.
But when he was there, and those people who were stranded there were, gave him too much information. They were like, "Tell us about you. We told you this," and he said, "You need to be more careful." Right. So you got to think Luthen's definitely not a guy who would just give away free information. So him saying that, maybe DDoc, maybe you noticed that and I didn't, but now thinking back, maybe he did that to test Lonnie to see if Lonnie was going to be like, I can use this now, right? Like, how did he react to hearing that word? Because he wouldn't have just given him that. Luthen would have put a bag over his head and his family and put him in the trunk of a spaceship and gotten him there, right? He wouldn't have just said, "Oh, here, we're taking here," right? So I think maybe that was a little symbol from the very beginning, like, this isn't going to happen, so I'm going to tell you just to see your response.
Yeah, for me, that was just the death kiss right there when he said Yavin. He wouldn't have said that. without having every intention of killing him before the conversation was over.
Yeah. When he said that, and I saw Lonnie kind of go, "Oh, okay," and I was like, and then they transitioned after he said that, and I might have even said it out loud. I was just like, "Lonnie's dead," and then they like come back to just like a little kid walking by, like, "Keep moving along, son. Don't look at that," and it's just him dead on the bench.
I kind of took it as when that reaction to him saying it was Lonnie realizing like he's going to get brought into the fold of the rebellion. Not only is he going to get saved, he's getting brought straight to the safe house. Everything's going to be okay. I can tell this guy what I know now.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a 50-50 chance Lonnie would still be alive if he wouldn't have taken the initiative to give more information to Luthen.
Right.
But since he took the initiative, that put it over the top. So then we hop right into Luthen basically taking straight acid, right? And dropping it into the machines there at the shop to clean it up and get rid of it. Did you guys really think it was going to be Dedra or somebody on that other side of the door? Or were you expecting somebody different? When he walks up to the door, they don't show you who's there until you see her back facing him.
I thought that it would be her because it's basically what Lonnie said in their conversation 2 minutes prior to this was Deidre's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
She's put it all together. And that's, Luthen and, how do you say her name?
Clea
said that he had run the big bell. So that was the final way of communicating of, hey, this is all falling apart. We got to meet quick and then get out of here.
I thought that scene in the shop, just like I said last week, was with the "Who are you" scene. That scene right there between Dedra and Luthen was played so well.
Mm-hmm.
Them both knowing what was coming, but playing it off a little bit at a time until it just you couldn't turn away from it. It was just very well done, very well acted, very great dialogue. And to bring it back to the first box that he got from Andor at the very beginning. That was in what, the first or second episode?
Yeah, I think it was the first. It actually flashed me back to, I'm like, that's the scene that I saw when I saw the Rogue One back in IMAX. They gave a special showing of Andor before it because Andor was about to come out, and I remember that was the scene, was him having that box and Luthen like talking to him in that room with all the chains and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so full circle.
I liked him talking about the two pieces in the gallery that were forgeries or were quite questionable because he was basically saying it's you and me.
Yep.
It's nothing here. It's you and I are the ones that are fake.
Damn, I didn't catch that actually.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I did not catch that. I think I was too like freaked out at the fact that Dedra or Dedra was onto him. Yeah.
The Annunciation Show. Welcome to the Annunciation. I heard somebody post or saw somebody post that knife, that dagger, was from the Kit Fisto's culture.
Yeah, the Natulian, I think.
Yeah.
And it obviously wasn't fake because it had an edge to it.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering.
Like the blood something? The blood?
Bleeder.
The bleeder. There we go.
Yeah. Which is funny because, like we were just talking about, Revenge of the Sith is still, fresh in our minds. And so you have Plo Koon's mask, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Something, from Kit Fisto's world. You have two different headdresses from Padme. The Wookiee headdress was back in this episode. And there was something, before we had seen the Gungan shield in his shop.
That's really great stuff. I'm sure I'd like somebody to do one of those virtual books on this and be able to just walk you through his shop and piece by piece walk you through what it is. But the scene there was great. Clea seeing him taken off in the stretcher, knowing that he, if they're taking him off in a stretcher and an emergency vehicle, she's assuming he's still alive, not just taking him out like to the morgue or anything like that. So she knew right away what she had to do. And to see these flashbacks and to see what she did and what she had to undertake in this episode was fantastic. And I will say, after 12 episodes of Andor, she has risen up the ranks as to be one of my favorite characters from this show. From season 1, where it seemed kind of like a blah behind the scenes person, to what all she was involved with, and how she interacted with Luthen and with Vel and with Andor, just was fantastic. And to see her go kick ass in that hospital and do all she had to do to get that done, again, fantastic. I really love this episode.
The backstory flashbacks, I
Yes.
think, really helped. And it's something that this show was missing. I get it. These are all non-important characters. But at some point in the 20 hours of the show, I need a reason to care for them or to be interested in them. And this was one of the first times where I was truly invested in the character.
What war do you think Luthen was fighting in? Like, do you guys have any, like, because that's one thing where I was just like, I don't know where he's fighting or who he's fighting or what at this point.
I think that this series takes a very liberal approach to the timeline of the Empire. He was fighting for the Empire. The soldier who came in was wearing the Mud Trooper uniform.
Like Solo, right?
Right. And that's not to say that there aren't Mud Troopers, that's the only time there were, but that would put it way back to the beginnings of the Empire, which, if the Empire only lasted 23 years in total, Clea looks a lot older than what she should be.
So let's with
Deidre.
Yeah, let's just put that into kind of a timeline real quick. Let's say he's at the beginning of the Empire. Let's say, so that's Revenge of the Sith. From Revenge of the Sith to now is 18 years.
Yeah, 19 years.
So if she was, let's say, 8 or 9 in those first, when he found her there, because she looked like she was not 10 yet, right? She looked younger than that.
Yeah, to me, she looked like maybe 6.
Okay.
On the ship. She looked very young.
So let's say the youngest 6 or so, oldest 8 or 9, and you add 18 or 19 years to it. She's in her mid-20s, right? By the time this show is at the point that it is. Mm-hmm. So I can live with that. I can say she's that, but yeah, that was they were going through and just massacring her hometown, her home planet.
Right.
Taking out anybody they could. And they basically were saying, hey, see that building? We think people are in there. Just blow it up, right? Just destroy it.
Set everything on fire.
And I don't know what flipped in him except for her. Like he was a leader. He was a sergeant, I believe. And it wasn't he Sergeant Lear? So didn't he just change his last name and flip it around?
Right. But, I mean, to be a sergeant, you don't necessarily have to have seen combat before.
Okay. Or maybe he saw it from afar. Maybe he was always leading and not in the middle of it. But something happened when he saw her and when he heard all those people getting massacred. You could just tell. I mean, with the make it stop, right? He was...
Yeah.
He broke.
Well, I mean, Mix Mayfield was an Imperial sharpshooter. And so that would establish that he had a long career with the Empire, but it wasn't until that battle during Operation Cinder, when he was up close and seeing all those people burnt and destroyed, that he flipped. So I think I'm expanding on your idea that, yes, he was probably in a different role up until then. And then this was his first taste of up-close combat. And it didn't sound like it was really combat, more just destruction.
Yeah. And then the flashback scenes were really good. It started building the whole not trader, but art supplier, art dealer, things like that. Mm-hmm. He started trading all those, showing her how to look at things, see things, barter with people, all that. Really like that growth, those little steps at a time. And then adding in that thing where he got her to the point where she was going to press the button to blow up that bridge. And if I'm not mistaken, was that Naboo?
Yes, it was, and that was actually a location from a deleted scene from episode 1. I believe, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where they filmed the deleted waterfall scene.
Wow. Okay.
Cool.
I like that
So
waterfall scene.
Yeah, that was in Spain, and then the castle that they were in, walking on the walls, is also in Spain.
Yeah. So I mean, you saw he's like once you press this button, you know, and then I loved how he was telling her, "Don't look, wait till it happens, then turn and glance like everybody else, right?
Right.
And then walk away with everyone else. Don't look at it, make it happen, and take off running. You're going to try to fit in while these things are going on. Fit in with the crowd. They don't even suspect that it's you. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, like I said, to finish, she kicked butt and took names in the hospital. You could see what all she was trained in.
One thing that I liked about the hospital scene, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead.
No,
but
good.
When they asked for the footage going into surgery, there was a little throwaway line about we had those, but the surgeons had us take them out because they didn't like to be watched right there. And is that like another little, just like Luthen was saying, all these little fires everywhere? Is that them, treating people that they shouldn't have been treating, doing things that they're not supposed to do, and that's why they didn't want a camera outside that room? Just like the people at the Senate, the 2 guards who couldn't open the door. I mean, it's just like a little teeny act of defiance.
I didn't even recognize that line. So it's good for you to point that out. I was just completely enthralled to seeing her get through everybody, take everybody out, and then follow her through on the cameras and everything like that.
Yeah, in the hospital, Alfie, I did catch that vibe where I was like, these people in the hospital they don't mind to nudge back a little bit at the Empire because they're when it comes to war, you don't mess with hospitals. You know what I mean? And they're technically, I guess you're not at war right now, but you can tell that the Empire is starting to cross the line with things, and yeah, that was good. The hospital scene, as Joe was saying, it was just top tier. I mean, Clea, she's badass, man. She really is. And that actress who played her, I've looked at her IMDb. I think I looked at it a couple weeks ago just because we were noticing how well her character was doing. I'd say about halfway through the show, where we were like, man, she's really impressive. And she has not been in much. So
I think this is her first role.
Yeah, she's like only been in like a couple things. So like she is, I wish nothing but the best for her. I'm gonna have to bring her name up so we can shout it out. But I mean, damn, she did an incredible job. I follow her on Instagram, and she's been posting a lot of stuff just saying thank you to people reaching out to her for her role in the show. But she was great.
One little thing I liked about the hospital, like to expand on this little acts of defiance, the hospital name, the Arabish is who's the leader of the High Republic? Is it Lannis?
Yeah, Lena. Yeah.
I couldn't remember how to pronounce it, but yes, that's what the name of the hospital.
Was that the character that the Duchess dressed up as when she went to?
With the two
Yes, the 2 flaming dogs.
Yeah.
When she went to Celebration Europe. That's right.
Yeah, so this is the 8th role, at least on IMDb, that she's been in. It's Elizabeth Dulau, Dulau. I would like to think it's Dulau. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that. But yeah, 2020 was her first role, and 2022 is when Andor started. So kudos to her. She's a great actress. I think she's got a good career ahead of her because she's very good.
I could see them expanding her role and having her do, Lost Stars, how they do the stories that are going on during the original trilogy, but from a different angle. I could see a character like her throughout the original trilogy. Now that we know she didn't die right before Rogue One, and she's alive, then I guess for when Time of a New Hope starts. What if she's still doing some clandestine things during the war? I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead, Alfie.
I think you've solved your problem with Ahsoka season 2. I mean,
Bring it, brother. I want to hear
if
it.
there's gonna be a galactic scale war, how would Leia, Han, and Luke not be involved? Now you basically have somebody that looks pretty similar to Leia, and about the right age. You have somebody that looks like Luke. You have a Han Solo. Do they have to be, main parts of the story? No.
No.
But I think any Star Wars fan is going to have a hard time believing that Thrawn comes back with an army and is going to duke it out with Admiral Akbar, and those three don't get involved somehow.
Alfie, we can only hope.
Well, I mean, they mentioned her in season 1, so now it doesn't have to be off camera.
I like it. So yeah, we did finish up that one. Her letting Luthen go, who was basically her adopted father. I did like when she said, "Are you adopting me? Am I your daughter now?" And he said, "When it suits us, or when it suits me, whichever." I thought that was pretty cool. He was even cold-hearted way back then. We drop into episode 11. Who else knows? And that's where we get our Dedra Krennic. I saw people online doing the duck duck goose thing where he put his hand on her head, his finger on her head, and she was in trouble because they were basically saying either she let that stuff out or she was doing some spying herself, and they assumed she was the leak inside the ISB.
It looks like someone in the Empire hit reply all, and she came across some files that she shouldn't have.
Oh wow!
And I think it's a theme of the Empire is always trying to go up higher, right? To climb the ladder.
Oh yeah.
And they all do it. It's just the fact that she got caught doing it, and now she was the perfect scapegoat.
For a lot of people in jobs like that, the person who has the most fire in their belly will get moved up a lot. But if it doesn't work out just right, they're the ones that take the heat for everything.
Right.
And she definitely took the heat on this one. It was, let's think about how much her world had crumbled with Ferrix, with Gorman, now with this. She went from being somebody who was moving up the charts and people had their eye on, even Krennic had his eye on her, right? To turn around and be the person who gets labeled as this mole or infiltrator in the ISB.
But they still went back to her for information afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the guy who turned on her.
Right.
Now, when Krennic was calling out all of these things on her, did any of you guys have a moment for a second where you thought, like, is she like kind of working along with Lonnie for a minute? Like, I kind of thought for a minute where I was just like, maybe she actually is like leaking information and she was slightly good this time. Like, I just had a slight moment where I thought that, but yeah, that was shut down very quickly. I'm like, there's no way. But
well, Gorman did rattle her. We saw that. Mm-hmm. She lost Cyril, and that commander, like I said last time, he basically said, you feel like you're in charge, but really I'm the one calling the shots. All you have to do is say yes, and then it's off to the races. She did not even know the rest of the plan that they had put together for her there. And so, yeah, DDoc, you're right. She could have flipped when she got back because she had everything taken away from her by that time.
But it seems like she went the opposite and just dug deeper.
She did. You are correct. Because she went right after Luthen, even though they said not to go after Axis anymore.
good stuff.
There was a callback too in all of this, which I find hilarious because I keep bringing up the fact that none of us know anybody's names in this thing. So
we know a
when-
few.
right, but yeah, did you pick up the separatist commander's name that she dropped when she was talking to her about the radio that she found?
No.
Yeah, that goes all the way back to season 1. That was the guy that Luthen and Saul burnt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to look it up. I was like, there has to be some significance to this name.
That's the one where basically Luthen was like, "Look, we've got to sacrifice," even though
Right.
Saul was like, "He's a one of us, right?" And he's like, "Well,
Luthen said he had to protect a source, so
Yeah.
it was worth losing a squadron of X-wings to protect his mole."
my gosh, just everybody involved, like you said, rebellion or empire, cutthroat as can be."
Right.
So Kalea sitting in the safe house. I think everybody now has stayed in the safe house.
Mm-hmm. But did you notice the deterioration of the safe house?
Oh yeah.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah. It went way downhill real fast.
Yes.
Some good old empire control will do that to you.
It looked like a bad neighborhood. It did not look like it had gone well. But she knew in that safe house, in a certain wall, there's Jackson. Thank you, Brent. It's gorgeous. Looks just like the black 6-inch figure I've got behind me.
Excellent.
I'm out. Technical difficulty. No. I tried. I'm sorry, guys.
See you, Brent.
You're good, brother. Let's talk soon. All right.
Okay, Oscar knows the name.
Oscar. Yes.
Anto Krieger.
That was the one that they gave up in the first season. So here's one of the things I will say, okay, guys, before we even finish up with 11 and 12, I was telling DDoc today, I would give Andor overall for the whole 12, and I'm just throwing this out there because we're getting ready to talk about K2SO because he starts getting in the mix during this episode. K2SO is somebody who should have been involved from the very beginning of season 2 because as much as I rip on the Hux Poe bullcrap kind of comedy back and forth in The Last Jedi, which it was bad. And then Luke with the stick on Rey or whatever, that was just bad comedy. Star Wars still needs a little bit of humor, just a little bit.
Right.
And K2SO in this dark, dire time always knew the right thing to say.
Right.
To just give you that little bit of...
Knocks it out of the park.
Yes. Well timed, well played. But that's what... If I could have had this the whole second season, this would have gone through the roof. It is still really good TV, everything like that. But the K2SO just adds something to it. And he just knew how to time... They just knew how to time him just right to make it good.
Okay. I've made it very clear that I do not like this series. However, I thoroughly enjoyed these 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And K2 is one of the big reasons. Bringing K2 into this arc made it more Star Wars than what it has been in the past. What are we talking? 21 episodes?
Yeah. 21, 22 episodes, yeah.
And that's what this series needed a little bit more of for me. The pacing in these 3 episodes was like lightning compared to the previous 21 episodes. There was still a lot of dialogue, but it was moving so quickly to get to Rogue One. I would gladly give up that TIE Fighter arc, Saw Gerrera episodes. What were they for? We already knew he was batshit crazy. Did we need more of that? I wanted another 3 episodes after this. Give me 3 episodes of the next day.
Yeah, I felt the same.
It felt like it sped up so much to get to Rogue One. I just wanted more of that.
Yep, I agree. And that's what I couldn't believe that once it was finished, I felt myself thinking, and it's exactly what we're saying right now. I was like, I want more of that, and in my mind, I knew it was because we had the banner with K2 being mixed into this stuff. Where I'm like, there's intense battles going on, but every like 5 or 10 minutes I'm laughing at the fact that of K2 just nonchalantly throwing a guy off a balcony
Right.
and saying some line to someone, it's like, and Alfie, it's so funny that you brought up that TIE fighter arc, because as Joe was talking about K2, I'm thinking, the first arc kind of all it did was just establish Yavin or Yavin. But yeah, like that TIE fighter really didn't go, it was good. I'm not going to say it wasn't good. I personally, I'm like on the 9 out of 10 stage with Andor as well with Joe. And I also understand the reason why people don't like it as well. Like, I understand your points as to why you don't like it. But yeah, I felt that where I was like, damn, I could have gone for another 3 episodes of that, of just that, to just get me a little bit closer to it.
When he talked about the parade that he was in,
Yes,
and he said the Emperor was there.
I know. I cracked up.
I mean, look, he knew that how Melshi would bet. He knew he wouldn't usually do something on these certain hands.
Mm-hmm.
He constantly had something. He's like, you haven't had enough of that nog, right? I mean, he can decide if he's drunk enough to make that kind of a bet, but he always had that little line that just stood out, and it was funny. And to see that droid just throw people off of walkways or take a guy and use him as a shield in a hallway, great physical humor as well, right? It was just, K2SO is, in my opinion, right up there with some of the best droids in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's good.
Agree.
When he asked Cassian, "Do you want to know how many rules we've broken so far?"
17.
18. Yeah, because like 17, then immediately goes, now it's 18.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think, DDoc, you mentioned how high we all think of Rogue One. And let's face it, K2SO played a huge role in Rogue One. I mean, that whole time, the banter between him and Jyn Erso, him and Andor, it just was fantastic. And this showed why that movie, in my opinion, did so well, was having that banter, that Star Wars humor right in the middle of a war movie, right in the middle of a serious drama show that we're watching. K2SO is just adding that little bit of spice that's making it a little bit different. So
And it expands on Andor's character as well, because it gives him a bit of a lighter side to where Andor can joke around and like feel like he's taking a little bit of time off, like to, like where he's not kind of, because Andor, let's face it, was stressed out a lot of this show, where like you saw the lighter side of him where he's joking around with K2 and stuff like that, where like there's a bond there between the two of them. Yep. I could have gone for another 3 of that bond. I could have used another 3.
I could have gone for some Cassian K2 adventures.
Yes.
I think, to me, that's one thing that was missing from this series. I thought there would be like some actual, like, more rebel shit going on. And I felt it kind of missed the mark there. I understand what it was trying to do, and I can appreciate that. I honestly will give this series 9 out of 10. I think it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it was not enjoyable for me.
And I watch a lot of streaming stuff now, right? Like Lori and I will find a show that we get hooked on and we buzz right through it, and so we found some that, like, I watched some, Ted Lasso, some of the best TV I've ever watched. Slow Horses, some of the best TV I've ever watched. This is right almost to those, but it just missed that little bit until we got to this last rush here. The last few episodes of the first season, and then this part right here, were right up there with anything else. And I think if you'd added K2SO and some adventure stuff in there, it would have been right up there with those other ones. I will say that looking at this from a Star Wars angle compared to a secular, real world angle, that people aren't sitting here doing podcasts, people who are just watching TV. If you made this same show, but you made it based in World War I or World War II in a real world setting right here, I think it would be blowing people. People would be eating it up who are not Star Wars fans, right? Because
I agree.
The acting was good, the intensity was good, the scenery was good. You could feel the pressure building and mounting in this whole thing. And if you said, hey, this is what's going on with all these spies and all these rebels leading up to one of those world wars or something, right? People would have been like, boom, the next thing is boom, and it's this world war, right? Instead of the rebellion against the Empire. And I think you put it in that scale and in that realm, this could be put on Netflix or Hulu or Apple Plus TV.
I said last week, I think, if you were to take the Star Wars name off of this and put it on Netflix, it would be a major hit. And for me, that's what is lacking from this series, is it being Star Wars. It's supposed to be a Star Wars series. And I've just not really gotten that feeling from it. And that doesn't mean that I need lightsabers and I need Jedi or anything. I just need a little bit more. I really liked, and I really wanted to like some of it, but it just went out of its way to, have me not like it.
Well, and our point on this K2, situation is just adding this droid into the mix with them felt so much like Star Wars, because you have, there's, it's like I was talking about with Empire, I feel bad for 3PO and Empire because he is kind of like, but like you think about the droid who's just there to just add those lines in every now and then, where it just changes it up. So yeah, I mean we had Emo in the first season, so like there was that, but he was kind of just sad and worried about Andor all the time.
And he got peed on by dogs. So.
Yeah, that poor droid. Cassie, you got a new droid, buddy. Sorry. And he's way cooler than you.
So she, Clea gives them, before this episode ends, she gives them the breakdown of, hey, one, I'm not going to Yavin because they don't like Luthen there. They don't like us there. They're, Cassian, you broke away and went with them when you could have stayed working for us on a daily basis. So there, you can tell there's still a divide there. But, I was thinking about it. Don't you think that Luthen's money that he got from what was the place they broke into? Where they got all the money? Aldhani. Don't you think that money helped go into funding and putting that stuff together for Yavin somewhat? I mean, it had to go somewhere, and he wasn't giving it to Mon, or she wouldn't be having the money troubles and needing laundering going on.
But that was kind of what Luthen was doing in that TIE Fighter arc. You see that he was funding all of these little groups to do things, and none of them knew about each other. Even when they crossed paths, they had no way to communicate or to verify who they were.
Until they said, I have friends everywhere.
Yeah, I think Yavin was what he saw in the future, but that's not what he wanted. He wanted just absolute chaos.
Yes, and at this point, she's spurned because they established early in this arc that his reputation kind of with the rebellion is pretty tarnished, like where they're just like pretty much like we're adding more order to this, and the politicians are involved now. Right. So like now they're kind of like, this guy is, we don't need this guy anymore, pretty much is what seemed to be their opinion.
He's Saul without the drugs.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we end with that, though, right? We end with them taking her out of the building and taking off for Yavin, if I'm not mistaken. After they took out the team, which we finally got to see that team that we saw in the previews.
Mm-hmm.
The guys, what were they? Were they ISB?
SB Tactical?
SB Tactical. Okay.
They have to make a Black Series figure of those.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a really great look.
Hell of a hallway scene, too.
Yes.
Always love a good Star Wars hallway scene.
Yeah, that was a good scene right there as well. Yeah. So she's telling them, hey, super weapon, don't know what it is. Urso, Kyber, right? Boom. That's how we end it. And that's the title of the next show. She's let them know that, and she's been basically blown up, still alive. But they sneak her off to Yavin and start healing her up. But they still, when they get there, nobody's trusting any of them. Melchi, Andor, or her. And they want to verify it. But I'll let you guys jump in there. I thought this still was a really good episode with a lot going on and really building towards Rogue One.
I agree. And I think you also see what will ultimately be the downfall of the rebellion and its transition into the New Republic. This bureaucracy, this, and I get it. That's the way you would want to be the anti-empire. You would want, to verify before you go in guns blazing. But that's not also, it's not going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
It becomes very stagnant. They don't go to Scarif in Rogue One because of the Council. They defy the Council.
Yep. You always have to have a little rebellious nature to things. And as much as all that being put together was great, you're exactly right, Alfie. How many years later did all this cumbersome, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Mandalorian, the bureaucracy's already kicked into all of the New Republic. They're all basically either former Imperials who they basically said, hey, we don't have time to train and rehire new people. Guess what? You now work for us.
Right.
And just keep doing your job. But there's layers of red tape, layers of paperwork. And, Palpatine even said it, right? Once you have power, it's the one thing you don't want to give up. And every politician, even in the real world, and there's some of them I like, but not many of them, they don't want to give up that power.
Right.
And it is very true.
No, it's great.
That's where you get characters like Cara Dune from. That's why she stepped away from the New Republic. She was a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
What do soldiers do once there's no more war? Or you have politicians who won't let you do your job.
Well, we see that. I think one of the things that stood out to me in this last episode, while you felt like going into this last episode that Dedra was free to go about before she got arrested, free to go about in her life and do whatever she wanted, right? She could do this, that, and the other, but she was still under the Empire's thumb. Now she's the one that trapped in basically the same, what was that? I forget the jail. Narkina 5 or something. Yeah. She's like trapped in something like that, all because basically somebody tapped into her emails and she got blamed for it. While Clea, who you thought in reality could do whatever she wanted and had no control, really lived in a prison all that time of Andor and now was finally free. And that's probably the first time she slept well in years.
Right.
And seeing that flip right there really stood out to me when I saw her wake up on that bed. And I'm thinking, that's probably the first time in a decade where she's felt like, I don't have to get up and go do this, that, and the other. I can actually sleep and not think somebody's going to gunsmoke me, while I'm sleeping or when I wake up.
Yep. She spent 50% of her time on the comms, just like searching for anything, like they showed a lot of that this season of her on that. that desk that she was working at. So
I get the Deidre in jail ending. I didn't care for it. I think she should have. I think personally, I think she should have been killed by Vader.
that would have been awesome.
Oh man, Alfie. Yeah.
You don't even need to see him. Just the shadow
And hear
just
the
the breathing
breathing.
outside the door, and then you bring it full circle right back to A New Hope, where he says, "I've traced the rebel spies back to her."
Oh,
You
Alfie.
you know she's dead.
Damn it!
You know what I mean? You know there's no way out for her. She can give him whatever information she wants, but she's still dead.
Alfie, you see the thing from the Death Star with the needle come around the corner like he did with Leia?
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear the breathing and the boot steps coming. Oh, gosh.
I mean, I get the her being in jail, but I think the three hots in a cot and learning a technical skill, really great workout and health plan. At the end of the day, it's not really that bad. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, she's directly responsible for, her digging too far. She's directly responsible for it. It's also funny to think, and we'll continue with this obviously, but it's also funny to think that like without Lonnie, like these plans for the death, obviously there's layers too. Without this character, without this one, but without Lonnie, like who played a damn good role of being that rat, he's really the huge reason why they got these plans for it. Because if he was popped before Luthen got to him there, I mean, who knows how they would have gotten it. They probably would have never gotten it.
That in my statement, I went back and listened to last week's show when I was talking about the dumb statues and all that stuff. I listen to myself now and think that was kind of dumb, but at the same time, we all know why those things weren't there, is because there were so many layers of these small pieces of people that nobody will ever know their name. But yeah, I mean, they were all cogs in the wheel, right? I mean, you don't really make a lot of statues for guys who get gun smoked in the park.
No, it's like the guy who was responsible for financing the American Revolution. No one knows that guy's name. You know what I mean? He had to. It's been a long time since I've read about him, but basically, he had to secure like $10,000 a day. In 1776.
Yeah.
He died, broke and penniless in a gutter somewhere. Nobody knows his name.
Damn, I need to look him up now.
I know. I need to go back to my Revolutionary War history. I feel like I know a lot, but then I hear stuff like that, and I'm like, man, that makes me want to know more.
Anytime I hear about Revolutionary War, man, it fires me up. That's why I do like this show, though. It is like Revolutionary War, and it's like, the crazy stat about the Revolutionary War that they say is it's like, what is it like? Only like 13% or so were kind of the people fighting against it, where it's like,
yep,
that those are similar vibes to this. You only have so many small fractions where you have people in the hospital are kind of getting annoyed a little bit about it. You don't know that they're fully in or what, but then you have, this small group of antagonists that can figure out a way to beat an organized machine,
In Seinfeld, Jerry and Elaine talk about how 95% of the world is undateable, but how these people are hooking up is alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer that 95%, and maybe it's not that high, but it's close. 95% of the world right now is numb, really, to all the problems, all the issues, anything going on. As long as they can get up in the morning, do their normal routine, watch their TV show, eat their favorite meal every now and then, they're like, you know what? My life's, I'm going okay. I'll just be numb to all that. And I think you're right, DDoc. Whether it was the American Revolution or whether it's Andor and Rogue One leading to the rebellion, I would say a majority of the people, like I said, all those people who went from being Imperials to New Republic people, all because they're like, hey, keep doing your same job, but now we're in charge. They're like, okay, I still get the same kind of benefits. All right.
As long as the check's cash.
That's right.
As long as I can still watch Kathy Lee and whatever her name is on Coruscant Morning News, you know?
Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah.
And you talk about American Revolution stuff, DDoc, and you live, I came to your house. You live right down the street from all kinds of stuff. You need to be going and checking out more stuff in the great town of Philly. There's too much good stuff for you.
Well, my previous house, when I moved there, I looked up the location when I was over in Jersey because I was right around Washington's Crossing, and like the Hessians were camped out. Like there was a creek. It was called Jacob's Creek right across from my house. So I literally, like, across the street, I had this stream, and I looked up the history of Jacob's Creek, and there's a story about how after they had crossed the Delaware, they started moving towards Trenton. And they came to this Jacob's Creek, which is a tiny creek, but they had to get cannons and all this stuff over it. So it was like a problem for them to like just move all this heavy stuff over. So it's like, you know, it's in war, there's just little tiny details that like sometimes you don't know about, where you're like, man, you don't think about that stuff. But I think this show did a good job at kind of hitting some of those details.
Agreed.
One thing I was thinking about this show, with all of its layers and all of these, you know, nameless characters working behind the scenes, what the fuck was it like when Luke Skywalker shows up at Yavin? I mean, can you think about that? You know, think about it for a second. You do all of this shady stuff. The comms, the smuggling, establishing this base, establishing finances, keeping everything a secret. And this kid shows up and just takes over. He blows up the Death Star.
He wasn't even good enough to get, red 1 or blue 1 or whatever. He was number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he did show up with Leia, who held a lot of clout.
Which we got to hit on some Bail Organa stuff too, which I meant, like, I wanted to say that the guy playing Bail Organa, to me, felt more like him as this kind of went on. I kind of zoned out and felt like it was him a little bit, you know. But yeah,
Benjamin Pratt, right?
Alfie's point of Luke showing up, though, that's just like, you got this little kid like, hey guys, I'm here to fight for the rebellion, and they're just like, Jesus Christ, this guy has no clue what we've been through at this point.
Oh god,
there's someone on Yavin like, that guy did it.
Yeah.
The kid who showed up young and spry with his Lunchables pack.
Yeah.
He's the one who blew it up.
They're in the meeting, going over the plan, and the seasoned pilots are like, this isn't possible. And this kid's like, this redneck's like, yeah, I used to shoot possums when I was a kid. It'll be all right. It's not that hard.
Fantastic. Man, Family Guy doing an Andor or Rogue One. That would be fun.
It would be.
Yeah, you're right. That would be very interesting, and it fits the story, right? Kid out of nowhere comes out. American dream, kids. American dream. He's a 1 in a million shot. But yeah, you were talking about Bail. We finally get to see a scene with Saul, Bail, and Mon all together. Well, I mean, virtually all together, but all together. And nobody trusted anybody. They were all ready to cut each other's throats. Whether it was Luthen, whether it was him, they were like, nah.
Yeah, Saul was accusing them of sending spies.
Yeah. What'd he say? If you fought as good as you lie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Which takes you right into Rogue One, Saul, where he's just like, spies, traitors.
Every day,
more lies.
Yeah.
More lies.
They send you to kill me today, of all days. It's a trap.
Are we not friends? Yeah. Look, they used Bell to go and see and read Cassian to make sure it was true, make sure it all worked, all made sense. She bought in on it. And then she tells him, hey, when this is done, you got to go track down Bix. But then she goes back and tells Mon, yeah, it's the real deal. You guys need to look into this. So there was a lot going on in a short period of time, and I forget the guy he gunsmokes in Rogue One is the guy they're talking about, Tink or
Triffin,
Treefin. I don't even
something
remember.
like that.
Hold on,
Yeah.
let me look if I got it in my notes. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is it was that guy who's going to go and gunsmoke right away.
Mm-hmm.
Was that guy who they said, hey, he's got some details. You need to go track him down.
And he'll only talk to you.
Yeah, only talk to you. And so he was confirming the Galen Urso stuff, right? Isn't that what he confirms at the very beginning? So Lonnie Young tells Luthen tells Clea tells Andor and Melchi all about Jeddah. What is it? Jeddah, Kyber, Urso, right? Scarif, Gorman, all wrapped into one.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that they think it's a trap, but then this guy's going to tell him the same thing as soon as before he gunsmokes him.
Yeah, he confirms it. They needed it confirmed by an outside source, basically. And then, even though he does confirm it, they still don't act on it.
Right. Yep. They didn't feel like they were ready, if I'm not mistaken, right? They felt like they need to be more put together. I liked how they didn't have the Mon Calamari leader and Merrick in there. They're like, if he was here, they would have shot that U-wing down, right? I mean, there was a lot going on, like coming and going. Was I mistaken on that? Weren't they not there? The guy who leads the raid on Scare? Yeah.
Radis was there. Dodonna and Merrick was not there.
That's right. But then when we go to Rogue One, Dodonna and Merrick are there. Yeah. Because then Merrick then leads on Scarif.
Right. Blue Squadron.
Yep. Where do we end up? I mean, we finally get to see B2 Emo again, back on Mina Rao.
Right.
And yes, I did in my notes. Dedra was on Narkina. So yeah, she was on Narkina, the same place that Cassian had gotten out of. But B2's back on Mina Rao. And then we turn and we get to see Bix walking in the wheat field, cradling a baby. I was personally not prepared for her to be having a baby. Did I miss in previous episodes when she said she had to leave? Was it because of that?
I thought that the Force healer hinted at that in their conversation.
In what way?
I can't really remember what exactly she said, but when she basically said that you and what she was carrying would keep him from fulfilling his destiny. She didn't outright say it, but I took it in not so many words that she was saying, I know you're pregnant. If you have a baby, he's never going to leave your side.
I mean, I wasn't shocked because that hut is just a solid location. I mean, how could they not be, you know?
Even when they were in the safe house, she said the nights were fun. So
well, how could they not be living that lifestyle? Hey, that's your only escape, right? You're not sitting back and watching streaming services. You're
exactly. You're
going
playing cards.
Going to Pound Town.
Yeah, gotta get some cardio in.
I'm on the sex, Cassian. There
you go. Hey, congrats. I'm okay with all that. Didn't bother me any. That's great. Showing it's almost pre-New Hope in A New Hope, right? But I don't think you need to expand that story. You don't need to.
I liked it, but I think it also falls into one of the big hindrances that George R. Martin fell into with Game of Thrones. If there is a mysterious baby out there, of a popular character, it's always going to be brought up.
Oh, this is going to be brought up for a decade.
Yes, it's going to be expected that they're a Jedi and they're going to train with Rey or whatever.
Very true.
Interesting.
Heck, there's people I saw on social media. People were starting accounts related to that old grandma alien that Clea was pushing around in the hospital. Where is she? Did she come out okay? Did blah blah blah? And ask no, just it's just a side story. Just let it go.
Was she an ET?
That's what the theories I've been seeing where people showing it like an ET grandma.
Wow.
Yeah, they were showing side by side shots of that grandma and ET, and I was like, oh damn, that actually kind of could work out because the ETs were in the council at one point.
They were in the Senate. You are correct.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see a follow-up on Baby Cassian, but people would damn sure like it who were fans of this show. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. And that's why I bring up Game of Thrones, because to this day, there are still multiple, that's a very strong theory, is that one day Robb Stark's child is going to come back in the books. I understand on the TV show, earmuff it there, Joseph. I think that's why it was so graphic on the TV show, because he hates that he overlooked that little detail in the book.
Yeah. Interesting.
Are there any other storylines, things? I already said I'd be perfectly fine if they figured out a way to either like Alfie said, make Clea into the actress who played Clea into a Leia later on, because there was such resemblance, or maybe another storyline with her being a mini Luthen from behind the scenes during the original trilogy, something like that. But are there other things that you need to see or tied up from this that we don't get finished in Rogue One?
Let's hold on to that thought for a second.
Yeah.
What if she became Winter from the EU?
Oh, damn. I did like Winter in those books.
Mm-hmm. I mean, doesn't that kind of fit all the characteristics of Winter right there?
She remembers everything.
And the spy, the whole spying thing.
She listened to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I also think what it established was she was pulling the strings just as much as Luthen was. And they established that she did that from a young age when Luthen was kind of almost ready to make a deal. And she was just like, no, this is what we're doing. Like, you want this or not, this is what we're doing. And it just showed that she played a more important role with him. She had that ruthlessness.
She seemed to be the only one that could get him to do something other than what he wanted to do.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't she volunteer to go back and close down the shop and burn everything down? And he said, no, you take off and go get to Yavin or wherever, and I'm going to go close down the shop.
Right. Well, I mean, he can say what he wants, but he saw her as his daughter. Yeah. And that was him protecting her. He knew he was never leaving that shop.
And you could basically say he started that whole rebel thing that he was doing because of him finding her during that massacre. So she was his motivation to make all this happen.
I do have to say that was very good de-aging in that first episode.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. They've come a long way with that.
Yeah, that was really well done. It didn't seem fake at all to me. I mean, I knew it was fake, but it didn't seem fake.
And I don't know. I don't really care in what capacity they make it, but they have to make those black ISB ships in something. Whether it's Micro Squadron or the Hot Wheels line, something like that. I want one of those. Those were sharp. The black ISB, like LATs. The gunships that the ISB were in. that were all black.
Yeah. Okay. The ones that were coming in towards.
Yeah.
Where they kind of had those like panels kind of off the side.
They
Alfie?
were in Rebels. Yeah. I think they used them in Rebels a little bit, but then I don't know.
There may have been a Lego. There may have been a Lego set during Rebels that existed.
You paint it all black, and then there's just something about it I like. That looks sharp.
So I think across the board, and we can tie up all kinds of stuff, but just my thoughts on it are I look forward to hearing what Brent, when his technical difficulties are out of the way, I look forward to hearing what he thought as far as, was he entertained? Did he feel like it helped push the story along, all that kind of stuff? But I think we all give it a really high grade. But I think, like I said, my one thing is having that little bit that was missing, not having K2SO and all this stuff, maybe took it down from being just over the moon kind of good. But it was a really good series.
I always go back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay. When they're in the art museum and they're walking around and all of a sudden Cameron stops in front of one painting and he can't move. I'm like, you and I could be there and you could tell me, say, hey, this is really great. And I can appreciate the color scheme, the brush strokes, the composition, what the artist was trying to say, and say, this is really great, but I don't like it. I like this one. And you could say, hey, let me tell you all these things I like about that. But no, I like this one. I think that's perfectly fine. Me not liking the show is nothing to me negative. Yes, I play it up a little bit. That's just because we're having fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just not for me. I did not find this entertaining. I think, and I've said this many times before, if it had 10% of the fun of Mando in it, I would probably like it a lot more. But I don't want it to have that because people like it for what it is. And if you were to add that, then that takes away. Like, I look at the first 3 episodes with the TIE Fighter, and yeah, I like that. That was kind of fun. But as I'm watching, I'm like, this isn't Andor. You're trying to make a splash this season to get more people that didn't like the slow pace of the first season, to get them hooked into it, because it immediately slows down after that arc. And that's fine. I don't think it needed that TIE Fighter arc, because that's not, to me, that wasn't the show.
Well, and they didn't go anywhere with those, barbarians that were on the planet at that point. I guess you just assume that, who knows? But
were they even still there by the time Yavin was set
That's
up?
The kind of stuff I want to know. I want to know why did they choose Yavin? But that's not important to this show. Those kind of things aren't important to this show. But for me, that's the stuff I want.
Yeah.
I want. When they got to the end, I want to know how they got so much information so fast about Galen Erso. How did they find out about Jyn Erso? How did they find out about her aliases? How the heck did they find that she was in an Imperial prison? How did they do that? I wanted more of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I was actually going to ask. Like, I was going to say, like, what do you guys wish they showed now that they know that it's over? Now that we know it's over. And those points right there that Alfie was just bringing up, are ones that I was thinking, like, in my opinion, I think Jyn Erso is such a good character in Rogue One, and for a 24 episode series to be built after a movie that, I would say that Cassian Andor was kind of the support. Like, they almost shared a lead acting role in that movie. It's hard to say whether Cassian was the supporting actor or not. I just feel like she deserved to be shown in this, and there deserved to be a little bit more on her story for how important of a role she plays in that movie. But I guess people can make the argument to say, well, Rogue One is where you find out the importance of her story.
I would rather have conversations between Galen Erso and Bodhi
Mm.
on their shuttle than Cyril eating cereal for
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
times. I liked Cyril's character, and I think it was important to this story that they were trying to tell. But when you got to that part of this, I wanted another arc for those things.
Maybe the budget would have been taken off a little too much to get the because if I'm not mistaken, is Galen Urso another Skarsgård? Is he in the Skarsgård family or no?
Mendelssohn, right?
Mickelson. That's
Mickelson,
Lars
Mickelson.
Mickelson. Yeah, or
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Skarsgårds run a little deep.
I mean, we guessed a lot of things. Like we thought maybe Dantooine would be on there when we saw, or Lothal, right? We thought maybe both when we saw the ships taking off that ended up being from the Force Awakens. We thought, could that be Dantooine? I mentioned that I thought the wheat field with having the lines in it, thought maybe it could be Lothal. So way off, was wrong completely on both of those. But then again, when I watched the previews for Force Awakens, I thought, wow, we're going back to Tatooine again. That was way off as well. I don't know if we needed the Ghost or the Rebel crew to even land their ship sometime on Yavin, and see it in the background or anything like that. Don't know. I don't know. Phoenix Squadron, we didn't see any of them. No A-Wings, but they were going on at the same time. I mean, this is coinciding with Rebels leading into Rogue One. So I guess there could have been some more crossover on that, but they said, heck with it. We're going to keep it focused just on the Andor Rogue One trail. You're right. You could have had Galen Erso and his wife have some more interaction with not his wife because she's gone, but he could have had Galen Erso have more interaction with Orson Krennic because he was still with him all the way up until Rogue One. He was in that lab, so you could have had that character show back up. But outside of that, I don't know. What else am I missing?
It's really those characters. That's what it is. And I think you could have done that with them on set for like 2 days. You know what I mean? It's like, just give me like 15 minutes or 20 minutes of their, storyline as we got closer to Rogue One. Where like they were shown at least. Because I've always wondered how Jyn winds up, in the prison, she's in a turbo tank, isn't she? Isn't she almost? Yeah, she's like in a turbo tank. I'm like, I would like to know that. Oh, maybe we'll get the Jyn Erso story after this.
Maybe. I said in our group chat right after this ended that this was the Shawshank Redemption, for me at least, of Star Wars, because I just could not stand the first 21 episodes. And then here we get to the end, and it's like, Andy Dufresne crawling out of that pipe, and throwing his hands up. It's like, finally, we, some like Star Wars in the Star Wars series. And then it was just over. And I get it. I get that Rogue One is the climax of Andor Season 1 and Season 2. I get that. You didn't need a big battle at the end of this season. But, man, wouldn't it have been nice? Just a little something. And I get it. There was the Gorman. There was the Ferrix. There was the breakout of the prison. But I just didn't connect with these characters to care about any of it. And I know... DDoc, you said you were really tense during the whole build-up of the singing and all that stuff. And that's great. It just did not hit me that way.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. It's fine by me because I can understand it as well. Because I know from watching all the other Star Wars that, like we're saying, these 3 episodes felt like Star Wars. That's why it's like, there's times where you feel like you're watching a different show where I'm like, all right, a couple years down the line, a rewatch of Andor where I know I can just run through all of these episodes to the end will probably be pretty nice to do a rewatch on.
We need somebody to have the editing skills to merge in cutaways to Rebels things that are going on. Just like I want to see the edit of Revenge of the Sith with, I know it's got to be out there somewhere, and we've talked about it, where you mix in the final 4 of season 7 of Clone Wars and have all that stuff going on, and then cutting away to Ahsoka over here, then cutting back to the Jedi Temple and everything else.
Mhm.
I would love to see that. I would really like to see Rebels and Andor, what's going on in the other parts of the universe all at once, right? Like not watching one and then going and saying, okay, I'm going to go watch the whole series of the other one. Edit it together to where it's like, this is going on here, cut away, that's what's going on there. How do they coincide?
There's one thing I literally just thought of. Our Imperial officer who killed himself in the
Bartagast, yes.
Bartagast. I screwed up, and my usual routine, it's like between episodes, and I was delayed. I probably started a little later than 9 o'clock. I forget what. It's like once I start, I can't stop. I was so tired the day after watching this, by the way. Like, me staying up to watch those 3 episodes ruined my Wednesday. Wednesday, I was tired all day because I probably started at like 10 o'clock. So you do the math. But went to the bathroom, pulled up Twitter, one of those stupid posts where they say spoiler warnings and put 3 dots. And it was just like, can't believe Partagast just killed himself like that. And I was just like, okay, I know that that's coming, but yeah, that was interesting, and that's again me where I'm like trying to keep up with all of the information in these episodes, and I'm like, where did he screw up so much that he had to do that? Like, is he really truly responsible for all of this? Like,
it's not that he's responsible. The way that I took it was he was responsible for keeping the name Death Star from becoming public, and he failed at that. It's out there now, and
so it was his job to not let Death Star be known,
right, and he failed, and which kind of coincided with the monologue that he was listening to about control, and that there is no such thing as control. And then, does he want to spend his life in the prison? Probably not. Does he want to be tortured? Probably not. So
He's
he
old.
Took the easy, he took the easy way out.
He's ready for retirement. If he can't get a good retirement, he's checking out.
I thought it was odd that he used a DL-14. Where did he get Han Solo's blaster from?
I thought the same thing when he pulled it out. I was like, that kind of looks like Solo's blaster. Right
Yeah,
there.
Deidre used one in season 1. It doesn't make sense to me that they would be using that.
Well, maybe it's like the Glock of the Star Wars universe. I was trying to show you, but I just got blown away real quick. Jokingly, I sent out a tweet telling everybody at ICCC to have a good time, and if anyone wants to get Katie Sackhoff to either get an autograph to me or give a shout out, to rule the galaxy, she just liked my tweet.
Nice.
Katie Sackhoff liked my tweet. It's right there if you can see it.
Very nice.
I mean, we're it's the first one we're missing. There it is. Sorry. There you go.
Let's go.
It's big stuff. You better let her know that you're part of the 2%.
Milk. I drink 2% milk, Alfie. That's, yeah. No.
I'm gonna say this right now. This is the first time in a while. I hope Dr. Squatch is okay because he has not commented once tonight. So
no Adam Parker, no Dr. Squatch. I'm kind of sad.
Yeah.
That's why I sent the test out when we were a little bit into the podcast. I was like, is this thing on right now? Test.
Hey, there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff tonight.
I know, absolutely, and I'm just saying, we love you, Dr. Squatch. I know you're probably going to be listening to this. So,
what else do you guys have before I can sit there and just go be excited that we actually got kind of it's not a shout out, but I told the guys from Hyperspace Heroes, I said, I know you're going to meet Katie Sackhoff. I said, I know you'll be around her. I said, could you maybe get her to say, hey, it's Katie Sackhoff, listen to Rule the Galaxy. So, Aaron, if you hear this, still the favor is being requested. We got Vanessa Marshall. You know what we did never get? Emily Swallow. She was a guest on the show. We never had her do Emily Swallow, you're listening to Rule the Galaxy. I need to reach out to her and ask her of that. So
I always forget that she was on the show.
I know, dude. Honestly, I've talked to DDoc about some things today, but looking at some things we've done over the past 5 years, you've got to be effing kidding me. Who we've talked to and what we've done.
Azalea talked to Emily Swallow.
I know.
Frozen Dr. Peppers.
Steven Sansweet, Emily Swallow. I mean, we know all the podcast guys and people that we love that we talk to. Authors of books, book narrators.
Nika Futterman, Vanessa Marshall, Emily Swallow. I sit there and I'm like, Femi Taylor, Ian McDermott. I sit there and I'm like, what have we done? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Just think, though, Andor was probably thinking the same thing as the Force was guiding him on all these small missions until all of a sudden, everything blows up, man.
Well, I'm not going to say anything, DDoc. You and I talked about it, and we can talk about it offline, Alfie. But if we put some things together coming up, I don't know. We might have some good stuff coming up on Rule the Galaxy.
I was sending you guys those pictures from the library the other day, and I see they have a May the 4th setup on the wall still, and I'm like, oh, Adam Bray's book right here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Mark Thompson's audio book sitting here. I'm just like, I was telling Meg walking through, I'm just like, we've had these guys on our podcast, which she was like, that's cool, but let me see where Addison's wandering off to. But no, it is very cool to see that and realize, it's we've had a lot of big time Star Wars people on this show. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is wild.
We were at the library, and Azalea started going nuts, and she's like, "Dad, you gotta come here. You gotta come see this." And she led me through the library and found his book. I was like, and she said, "This guy's been on your show before. He's the guy with the funny beard." I mean, no disrespect, but the fact that she's talked to Adam Bray enough times that she knew his name and could read it, and then associated him with, that little braided beard that he wears.
That is crazy. I've got to reach out to Scott Rifen. I'm hoping and praying he's re-edited the Adam Bray Scott Rifen show that we did, that we lost Scott. Because if he can put himself back into that, make a whole show out of that, that'll be fantastic. I don't know, guys. It's chapter 325. We talked for almost 2 hours about Andor. Anything else you guys want to hit before we leave?
No, I mean, we're going into another void right now.
We're switching to Mando mode.
Yeah. Also, do me a favor, to anybody who's listening or listens later. Everybody, go support Jack Harvey, who's going to be racing in the Indy 500. A friend of the show. We communicate with him. He'll be on again sometime soon. He's going to be racing in the Indianapolis 500 in the end of May. And whether he's successful or not, to go and do that and have somebody who's a friend of ours who does that, that's a really cool thing. So, go support Jack and cheer him on and send him messages and put stuff about Rule the Galaxy on there when you tag him, because he's a great guy. So
that's another one that Azalea talks about all the time. I mean, she talked to him for quite a while about Pokemon.
Yeah. I remember that because he looked at her hat and said, was that Ash?
Yeah.
Is that an Ash hat?
That's the one.
Yeah. And then I got Meg's uncle, who's a big Barstool fan, texting me and saying, hey, the new guy that Barstool hired shared a picture of Rule the Galaxy podcast. You guys know him? I'm just like, yeah, that's T-Bob.
Somebody sent him somebody tweeted at him today and said, T-Bob, have fun at Barstool and then he put @Rule the Galaxy, keep @Rule the Galaxy. So he basically saying keep ruling the galaxy, but he tagged us in it to T-Bob. So I thought that was really cool. I'm going to sit here in amazement that Katie Sackhoff liked my tweet. That's kind of made my evening.
You got to frame that. You got to screenshot it and frame it, Joe, and just throw it right behind you on that beautiful new shelf setup you got.
Yes. For those of you who are watching, 2 brand new shelves. The only thing is I've got to refigure how to put DDoc sign in, because right now it is up there.
Hey, it's fine up there. That's why when I realized, I was like, oh, Joe's got the new setup, I was like, I got to throw a logo in the corner here. So that's what I was fiddling around with on my phone to throw it in. I think it looks great.
Well, I tell you what, something I'm going to post out. I know I said something about what's your favorite and least favorite Star Wars movie, and people have been responding great on that. Thank you. But behind me, I've got my ceramic R2 that's from 1978, which I talked to Steve Sansweet about. I've got my he knew my necklace, which is right behind me too, the R2 necklace from 1978. My cookie jar of R2, and then my new Captain Rex helmet and my Captain Rex Lego, all right there behind me. Some of my favorite things. And on the shelf above them, I've got my signed Grand Admiral Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. And right above that are my 3 books signed by Timothy Zahn. All thanks to Alfie, by the way. But
no problem.
Having those right there, and then having my original 12 Star Wars characters, and then all my Captain Rexes, all my Obi-Wans, all that stuff right behind me, it just makes my day. Guys, I bought this CD case at a garage sale for $10.
Dude, that's a hell of a display stand.
You can't beat that.
I went onto Amazon because I was like, somebody's got to have this, right? They have the exact same one, $185.
Can't beat that.
Bought this for 10. I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace every day now for this CD rack, because I would get rid of this bookshelf and do the exact same thing next to it. So,
speaking of the original 12, we got, if anybody who's listening now or later, whatever, if you can know of a file to do the 3D print of the original figure base,
yes,
please send that our way.
I'm gonna, you know what, Alfie, I'm gonna email Devin at Dungeon Guild Printing, because he and his dad probably can do that for me. I'll get that done. I'll look into it.
Yeah, I just can't find a file. I've seen it for sale, the 3D prints of it, but I can't find the file to make it.
Okay.
I've even found the people who remake the cardboard backing and the stickers.
I had a moment in a store today where I said I need to see myself out of here, because Joanne Fabrics is going out of business.
Oh.
And there's a Joanne Fabrics by me, and they are selling they're selling everything in the store. So you can go in and they have glass door sliding cases of stuff that they had locked that they're selling for $25. Like you just say, all right, I want this glass case right here, $25, and then they just put sold. And then once the store is fully liquidated, you go in and get your shelves. They have shelves. Dude, I was in there and I'm like, this would be so nice to put my Legos in, because they wouldn't get dusty. I mean, that's like the biggest problem with Legos is they all get, all this stuff. It all gets dusty, especially with pets in the house. But yeah, I don't know.
I'll work on the 3D printing. You send us over some pics of that stuff, because that's pretty cool. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, they used to have, I don't know, I'm sure they're probably all gone, but they used to carry, like, I think they called them baseball bat boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And those look good for putting figures in.
Yeah, because you turn them on the side, you could put the figures across. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I can move these shelves, just like these shelves. I can move them to the height for a 3 3/4 figure, and they just slide right in there. So
they sell plexiglass at Home Depot, but the problem is plexiglass is expensive. So like it's like, I know I could buy and build something to where I could keep dust off of things I wanted to keep it off of. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not that it's hard to cut. It's hard to cut it right without it melting to make it fit. Otherwise, you have to be very slow, very precise. and that's just not me.
I've done it, and it's hard because it's so wobbly. It's
Yes,
like,
it
yeah,
wobbles.
like to keep a straight cut while like you need to have a nice base underneath it before you.
Yeah,
Listen to us finish our show like we're doing DDoc DIY here
I
on
know.
the podcast.
nice base, and then be able to anchor it to the table you're cutting to.
Yeah,
And you have to find the right way to cut it, or else, like I said, it melts, and then it leaves that like it turns white instead of clear.
you got to mask up so you don't inhale all of it. Even though I've inhaled probably a lot of bad things in my life
Wow.
from these jobs, and from the jobs. I'm not talking about other things. You know, I didn't inhale.
All right, go say hi to your sister and inhale, DDoc. Sorry, that's I'm not telling him to talk to his actual sister. It's from
I know.
Andor.
I know.
Guys, thanks so much. We've been going for a long time. We've covered a little bit of everything, even building shelves. For everybody who's been a part, Brent, sorry you couldn't be here.
Here's Anakin before we go.
Oh, you opened
unboxed
him.
it?
Very carefully, yes.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
In the Clone Wars armor. Oh yeah. He's going back in the box, but
Good
just
for you.
carefully cut the tape.
Okay. Well, there we go. That's how we're going to finish. Open up a Star Wars figure right there for everybody. Hey, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on the podcast platform you want. Email us, ruleofthegalaxy@sw@gmail.com. We've had a lot of fun watching Andor. We'll figure out where we're going to go next. But until next time, as we dance out here for you, I'm kind of getting in the groove. May the Force be with you.